European powerhouse Team Gigantti just recently announced that they had released their players, and their story in Overwatch seems to have all but ended. Disappointing as it might seem, think back to Overwatch Contenders 2017. Misfits and Team Gigantti have just finished a barn burner of a best of 7 with the latter team taking home the trophy. You'd imagine that the team that just won one of the last tournaments of the year would be picked up as a core for the Overwatch League, right? The team that gave us Linkzr and Fragi, BigGoose and Shaz would surely be a staple of the Overwatch League. Nope. The team would be utterly picked apart with many of their players now scattered about the Overwatch League. How would Gigantti do if the team as a whole ventured in the Overwatch League as many of us thought they would? Let's find out on this week's alternate Overwatch history. 2017 was pretty quiet overall, but we saw the birth of the all-finished lineup that introduced us to so many names we'd come to know and love. D.Va, Linkzr, Zappos, Fragi, Shaz, and BigGoose. As I mentioned before, this team is the one that won Contenders 2017 Europe and is back-to-back ASUS ROG champions. Now in this alternate timeline, Gigantti enters the Overwatch League during the inaugural season. The meta at the time is very Widowmaker-centric, which puts Linkzr in a much more comfortable position than what he would have been on Houston. With his added comfort and experience with his teammates, I think we actually see a much more consistent Linkzr performance throughout Season 1. I do have my questions at Flex because D.Va and Linkzr do have overlapping hero pools. Linkzr has the ability to flex and play projectile primarily on a Pharah, but he's never shown glimmers of great projectile play. He'd fill any role you need him to, but compared to the top talent at the time, I don't know if he'd actually hold up. D.Va is an alright tracer, but compared to the world-class talent like Sabyolby and the other top tracers at the time, I don't know that this team would have had a strong offensive presence. We know that Shaz and BigGoose are a quality support line, above average on a bad day and quite the star performers on a good day. However, the tank line is a little bit suspect, but the fact that they, as a team, just went toe-to-toe with Misfits at the Overwatch Contenders 2017 Season 1 finals and won should speak to something. Now, I don't think they would, but if this team could have made it to the Overwatch League Season 1 playoffs, I think the original Gigantti roster would have done really well with the reliance on both DPS players' hit scan tendencies. With Widowmaker and Hanzo as focal points, I think the DPS duo Gigantti could have easily done something similar to what Philadelphia Fusion showcased, but maybe to a lesser degree. Now, more realistically, I think the team would finish somewhere around 9th with a similar record to the 2018 San Francisco Shock. Now, as the team heads into the 2019 season, let's figure all of the players that would have joined in Contenders do so in the Overwatch League. So, Gigantti adds Facility, Milky Man, Lobo, Zippe, and Leaf. This massively accentuates Gigantti's power in GOATs as it did in Contenders Europe. Possibly a little less so with the strength of practice partners early on, but I think the pieces that they have at their disposal in this case really do fit the metagame. I think Facility in particular really takes the pressure off of D.Va and Linkzr, and more distinct roles can be set up in the future. Fragi could have been, at the very least, an average main tank in the GOATS meta, and I still think he'd probably do very well in 2018. But in 2019, I think he could have emanated a very bumper-esque style from the Vancouver Titans' more aggressive playstyle. Many of these players are coming from NIP and SG1 from way back in the day, a team that was famed for their stylistic choice to play quad and triple tank compositions, so they should feel right at home in this metagame. As they head later into the season, with the more Doomfist, Sigma, Orisa-centric meta, you've got the OG Doomfist player Leaf on your team to head up that front on the offense. Now, to that point, I do have some questions around who would be playing Orisa and Sigma, but I think it's fair to say that with this deep roster, somebody somewhere could have played it to a, middling average degree, let's say. Now, as outlandish as this might seem, I do think this team is a shoo-in for play-ins. With how good they'd be at GOATs and how strong Leaf is at Doomfist, I think they'd have a great shot towards the end of Stage 4 and really make a solid push for a play-in seed. I do think, however, they're going to kind of follow a Philadelphia Fusion-esque route where they get to play-ins and they don't quite seem to make a mark, and that's probably where they'd end. As for the Bastion comps that were rolling around towards the end of the season, I still stand by the idea that GOATs and this composition were built on the same foundation of heavy teamwork-centric gameplay. In Contenders, Gigantti showed that they were quite capable of playing a very slow, rotation-heavy game, and this ideally could have lent itself to picking up the bunker composition or understanding it enough to beat it. This was a team that we really never got to see test their mettle against some of the best talent in the world. And it's a shame because I think they actually could have done reasonably well for themselves. Either way, I want to give a big shout out to Grindelwald's Weird Eye and Banter Life for the Gigantti suggestion. This is a narrative that probably won't even be thought about anymore, and once I put pen to paper, especially in the 2019 season, I really do think this team would have done really well for themselves. As always, if you want to see yourself here, please drop a suggestion down below in the comment section and we can explore some history together. Thanks for watching. Check out some of my other content, follow my thoughts on Twitter, and I will see you all in the next video.